Like a kid could come in and they might see something on a wall and just be like, oh yeah, that's cool, or just smile or something.
I'm Robin Johnson and this is Yours for the Making. And today we're joined by Sam Cox, aka Mr. Doodle.
Created this idea that he came from Doodle land and he's got an evil twin, Dr Scribble, and there's this kind of long battle between them, and Mr. Doodle wants to kind of take over the earth through doodling.
This show is all about the makers, whether it's art, food, woodwork, metalwork, whether they're craftsmen or hobbyists. This show is all about making.
Sometimes the quantity of something is part of the quality of it, rather than like if you took one of those doodles, it's not necessarily like the most amazing thing, but the fact there's a million of them is the thing. It's hard work, but if you find what you love, then you just got to enjoy that process.
Is Mr. Doodle, an extension of Sam Cox? Is Mr. Doodle his complete own character? Is it someone you kind of have to get into the mindset of to then sit down and draw? How does it work? I'm Robin Johnson and this is Yours for the Making. And today we're joined by Sam Cox, aka Mr. Doodle. Thanks for coming, Sam.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Robin.
Well, Sam, I thought I'd get you in as a guest because you're a super interesting guy. You do amazing doodles everywhere, which I've spotted them all around Kent at the moment and further afield. But I just wanted to find out a little bit more. So, how did it all start?
I've loved drawing forever, really. I can't remember a time where I haven't, loved it so much. And I wake up and this is what I want to do. I don't want to go to sleep because I want to keep doing it. And it's just been that way for as long as I can remember, really. And
really?
Yeah, I love like cartoons and video games, and that's kind of what got me into doing it, I guess. Looking at those characters, and it made me want to draw.
And when you started as a kid. When you were a kid, did you kind of have your typical school journey, and then you got to maybe secondary school and thought, I don't want to do anything else apart from drawing and stuff? Or were you like the super all-rounder, you were really good at maths and science and everything? Or
I don't remember being good at maths and science and the other things. I didn't mind it too much. I knew I wanted to just be drawing, and when I could, I tried to incorporate like drawing and doodling into those subjects. So sometimes some teachers were kind of more into that than others. Like, so I'd be drawing into like the margins of my English, sort of exercise book, and a teacher would like to see that because it would be like illustrations of the kind of stories that we'd be writing or looking at and stuff. But then in other subjects like maths, it wasn't really relevant to the work, so it wasn't as encouraged, I guess. But I know I wanted to do that, but just didn't have as much interest in the other things. And I didn't know where it was going, but I knew that I wanted it to be something to do with like putting pen to paper and creating worlds and characters in some form or another, really.
so following school then, when you found your passion for doodling and you've started on your kind of path towards where you are now, what was the next progression? Did you go and study art somewhere, or what was next?
Yeah, well, when it was all kind of like there wasn't really much of an aim to it for quite a long time. I enjoyed the process. I didn't know exactly what was happening with it. But then when I was 15, I had my one of my teachers, Morgan, who works with us now and stuff. He was my graphics teacher, and he kind of showed me like the kind of a place where it could go as like a career, and really other things that existed in the world that were kind of a similar genre of stuff, and just made me realize that there was really like a pathway that I could kind of follow and make my own way, but we could exist somewhere within that world. And that was all really new to me at that time. So my perspective completely changed on what was possible. And then I went to university, and Morgan encouraged me to study illustration, and I went to Bristol, and that was a great place to be because it had all the kind of graffiti and street art, sort of a good scene for that compared to Tenterden, where nothing, there isn't really a scene for that. So that was cool. And then I came back, and I created this sort of Mr. Doodle character and based everything on that and put everything into it to try and just make it work. I didn't know if it definitely would work. I just wanted to give it everything so that, at least to kind of try my best at it, really.
And was there a point that you kind of realised, this is working now?
I think, I always remember in 2015 when I finished university, it felt like suddenly, like, because I wasn't in education anymore, there was this like pressure to, it's got to be earning a good enough amount of money to be able to be a feasible thing, like long term, and it took a little while, because it took a while for I did this project where I was doing murals, and because when I was in education I didn't really need to be paid that much to do the work, so I kind of did a lot of stuff for free, or I painted restaurants and they'd pay me in food, like fish and chip shops, or I'd go and paint for a school and they'd give me like art materials and stuff. So it was kind of quite like low budget stuff. And then when I left university, I needed to earn money. So suddenly I needed to ask like clients to actually pay me properly and, really support what I was doing. So that took a while to really get going. But I did a lot of work where I'd just go out and paint walls in London where I could find appropriate spaces and do that for free to get my work out there. And then that led to, offices asking me to do murals in their spaces, or people getting me into their houses to paint their furniture and stuff. So that's kind of how it went. And then eventually it just kind of snowballed from there, really.
And was there can you remember like a one project or selling a piece that you were kind of like, oh my God, this is it,
Yeah, I think, for me that's a room, like a shop that I took over in Old Street, and I covered it in paper, and I'd done that kind of idea a few times, but I did it in that particular space, and because there was a lot of traffic going through the train station, people would walk in, they'd film me, and one of those videos that someone took really took off online, and that moment was when I started to see people from the other side of the world like engaging in what I was doing, and that felt like the point where, oh yeah, this is great. This is finally like now's my chance to kind of see whether the world likes this or not. And yeah, that was 2017. So that was the point where it really felt like that, I guess. Yeah.
And then from 2017, it's just been almost an exponential trajectory, really, hasn't it?
It's been a lot of fun. I just tried to take every opportunity that I can that feels right and make the most of it. And it's been an amazing journey, especially to be able to take my family on that journey with me, and like everyone I work with is family. Then and we all kind of get to see that process like happening, and we go on trips together, and like if I get invited to go to paint of something in China, we'll all go together most of the time, and we can all enjoy this, like enjoy the other parts of it as well as drawing, the everything else that goes on, because for a long time I was kind of doing it by myself, and yeah, it's great to be able to just share that with people, and I'm just really happy to be doing what I do, and it's great joy to be able to do what I love every day, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can fully relate to that. I wake up every morning, I can't wait to get into work.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not on the tools all the time anymore, I just,
Yeah.
sometimes just watching the guys making things here that, I've had a hand in the design or whatever.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not physically doing it myself, I love it. I can't get enough of it.
Definitely.
But one thing that I really like, every time I come to your studio, your house, your dad's there, he's sort of helping you manage things.
Yeah.
Your granddad's there mixing up paint in the background and stuff like that. Your son's there scribbling with a marker. Things I think, you know what, this is it's like a whole family operation, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't expect that would happen. Like if I look back, and when I was, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something, I would think, I couldn't imagine, like that being the situation I'd be in. I always thought that I needed to someone else like from further out who's like a specialist in art and everything, but the truth is, like, so many people in art and like creative industries have just kind of form their own way, I guess, don't they? And they sort of, there's not like these people out there that have to be involved to make it all work. Like it's kind of like, I didn't know my dad would be like the best manager I could have asked for, like when it was just like when I was younger, I was thinking, my dad like does all this stuff with his businesses and things, and he's great at kind of like running businesses and stuff. But I never thought we'd be working together, and he'd be kind of like helping guide my career and stuff. But it works like a dream, really. You know, it's a great like thing to be able to work with him and my brother and Morgan and my granddad. You know, everyone together, and just even though like not everyone is from like an art background as such, like anyone from any background, I guess, has ideas about how things can be done, and if that works and everyone knows how everyone works and what people want, then you can kind of just like make it work, really. And sometimes it's all for the better, because you get someone from outside of that industry and they've got like a different way of thinking that just really works for a lot of stuff. So yeah,
I think that's one of the strengths, you know, certainly with my business, is I haven't come from necessarily a joinery background, so I'm not used to just making stairs and windows and doors in the same way that you've always made it for 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
I kind of look at things from a different perspective. And I think, and I really, really like doing that, but sometimes, you know, you come from like you're saying, come from a fine art background or something like that. If I went to another joinery that, you know, they're doing things like this, and it'd be really difficult for me to kind of take people from there and form them into kind of how we form people here.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying there. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And it's transferable skills, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Running a business for your dad is probably a great transferable skill to now kind of manage you as a business, as a brand almost.
Yeah. Well, it's often people, I think when people think about like creativity, they think about like things that you or I might do, like making stuff or, you know, seeing something come to life, but it's not always about that. It's just like problem solving, I guess, a lot of the time. It's like thinking about two different, like putting two things together to make something new, and that isn't always someone who like paints a picture. It's sometimes just it might be someone you least expect to be, the last person you'd expect when you think about the word creativity. It's about just like coming up with solutions and stuff, and often I don't think like that my ideas are the most creative out of the group that I work with. Sometimes I'm just the one who just loves doodling the most. You know, it might not be that I've got some amazing idea, it's just that I just really enjoy like covering everything with doodles and things.
So tell me about the character, Mr. Doodle.
Yeah.
You know, and you've also got Dr. Scribbles as well, who I was introduced to after listening to your album.
Oh, cool.
But tell me about Mr. Doodle. Is Mr. Doodle, you know, an extension of Sam Cox? Is Mr. Doodle his complete own character? Is it someone you kind of have to get into the mindset of to then sit down and draw? How does it work?
Well, it's kind of, Mr. Doodle's been like a bit of a like evolution over the years. When I first, it's really when I first started dressing up like this. So I started covering everything in drawings, and I made an outfit like this so that I'd kind of blend in with the mural behind me. And at first it was just kind of camouflage, but when I stood in front of the wall that I'd drawn on in this kind of outfit, it felt kind of wrong to just stand there and just like that was it. I kind of felt naturally, I got into a position where I kind of animated myself a bit more, and it felt like there was this character somewhere within my head that wanted to kind of be a part of the world that I was drawing. And then I kind of took photos of that, and I started creating like a story, and my tutor at university, Phil, he took a photo of me against this wall, and he nicknamed me the Doodle Man on this post he did on Instagram. And I just kind of went with that kind of titling of that character since then, and then it kind of changed to Mr. Doodle, and created this idea that he came from Doodle Land, and he's got an evil twin, Dr. Scribble, and there's this kind of long battle between them, and Mr. Doodle wants to kind of take over the earth through doodling, and it's just sort of the basis for most of the stuff I do. It's something for, if like people are really interested in what I do, then there might be a bit more to it than seeing like a video of me drawing. There's a bit more of a story that if they want to get in, you know, like look into, there is stuff there, and it gives me a bit of a place to work from when it comes to doing a project. Like when I painted a train, I could make it a battle between Mr. Doodle and Dr. Scribble, and there's a few kind of elements that I can tap into to give more depth, and just makes it more fun for me as well. not that it needs to be, but it's just kind of does something different that I hadn't seen done before with most kind of people, like artists that I've liked in the past or still enjoy their work now. They're often, it's like, I'm Sam Cox and I draw this and that's it. But like I kind of like the idea of going further than that and making me part of the doodles,
Yeah, I like that actually. One thing that I want to talk about, your film.
Yeah.
The Trouble with Mr. Doodle.
Yeah.
And that, there's some quite hard stuff in there.
Yeah.
If people haven't watched it, they see Mr. Doodle, go onto Instagram and see Mr. Doodle, or YouTube, The Fantastic House. We'll touch on that in a minute.
Yeah.
But you're very happy and jovial. You can tell you're in character when you're almost performing as Mr. Doodle. But
yeah.
Dr. Scribble's kind of strikes me as a slightly darker character.
Yeah.
And I think your film sort of touches on that almost, but without possibly, it talks about mental health.
Yeah.
The struggles that you face in that, and I kind of always wondered, well, is Dr. Scribble's kind of, the battle, is that something that it was almost internalized?
Right, yeah. I'd never really thought of it that way. I think for me, maybe subconsciously, but in my mind, I've always thought that when I was at university, when I was making kind of Mr. Doodle, it felt like natural because when I was studying illustration, they talked a lot about narratives and obstacles for the main character and how it shouldn't just be a linear path for like a character wants something and he does it or she does it or whatever. And but to have obstacles in the way, Dr. Scribble is kind of that obstacle for Mr. Doodle, and it's just an enemy to kind of play off, and it feels natural for like a character to have in a cartoon kind of universe to have an enemy like that. And often the enemies are sometimes more interesting than the kind of hero, the opposite of the enemy. And I just loved those kind of cartoonish villains and stuff. So I kind of wanted Dr. Scribble to be a version of that, really. But yeah, I don't know if it's it's a fun way. It's a fun way for me to express myself if I want to draw like angry characters and things like that. To tap into Dr. Scribble as a way to work and stuff. But I've never felt like it's like a metaphor for some internal battle necessarily. Because most of the time, like every day when I'm drawing, I'm in such a good mood, and it makes me feel really good. And the only thing that doesn't make me feel as good as when I don't have as much time as I'd like to draw. It just feels like an urge to want to be able to create something. And if I, for whatever reason, aren't able to do that as much, then that just doesn't feel as good. But it's not like doesn't feel like that's Dr. Scribble necessarily. I don't know, but I guess it could be read into that way.
And the film sort of covers your, the house.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, you need to look at it. Go and look on YouTube and watch the video of Sam doodling over your entire house, inside and outside. And I've been there, and it's probably madder in person than it is on the video, I think. I remember the first time I came, we sat down, had a meeting in your conservatory.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about the studio joinery and, having a quite nice meeting. I was kind of blown away by it, but at one point I thought I'd lost my mind because I thought I could see the doodles moving towards me.
Oh.
No, this is my mind's just broken now. But it's your dog. You got a black cockapoo who's kind of walking along the wall in the background, and I thought, oh my God, what's going on here? And then the dog started walking towards me, and it looked like it had come out of the wall. My eyes hadn't quite adjusted to the doodles, and the dog came up and licked my leg, and I thought, phew. It's not real. It is real. But yes, the house. Just tell me a bit about that, because it's incredible.
Oh, cheers. Yeah. Well, it was my dream for so long. It felt like so long to want to draw a house. Where I didn't know what that would look like, but I just once I'd drawn on my bedroom at my parents' house, I knew I wanted that to be more than that, and see what a whole house would look like done in that way. And it was the perfect project to do during COVID, because during lockdown, what better thing to do than doodle all over your house? I was surprised that everyone was doing it, really. But it was great. I loved doing it, and I didn't really want it to end at the end, you know, like it got towards, I'd been thinking about it for so long, and I watched this, every day I'd watch this stop motion film that I'd made about it, and I'd kind of sit and watch all the progression so far. So it would be like 10 seconds, then a few months later, it'd be like 20 seconds of this thing I was building. And I'd continually watch it and think about, you know, is this going to be like, is it what I want it to be? Is it like good enough and stuff? And I just, yeah, got so immersed in that project. I loved all of it. And it was a great thing to be doing, and yeah, really happy with the result, and great to be able to live in it now and look back and see, you know, characters and think, oh yeah, this was like mid 2020, and you know, I did this one here, and like I remember eating this before doing this one and stuff. So yeah, it's fun, and it's a great source of inspiration to walk around with my son and, you know, holding Alfie and pointing things on the wall and saying, you know, what's that one, and like making up stories for characters and stuff. So yeah.
How long did it take?
It was just over or around 2 years, kind of on and off. Yeah. There was other things going on, so there would be like exhibitions I'd had to do, but most of the time each day there'd be at least a certain amount of time I'd be able to spend on the house. It was always the thing that I wanted to get back to doing, but it was quite tricky because it happened at the same time that the interest for buying like kind of made paintings went up, so I had to kind of feed that whilst doing the like house. And sometimes I'd be like do a load of paintings and then think, oh, you know, I want to do the house, but yeah, it was kind of two different things I wanted to do at the same time. So yeah, it was a fun thing to do. I really enjoyed it.
I think that's quite a common thing with people working on the houses. Most people aren't doodling on them, but you know, we're working on our house at the moment, and when it's busy at work, the house kind of gets neglected.
Yeah.
You know, but when it's quiet at work, you know, I'm working on the house, but for me, it's finding that balance. You know, when I've got the time, I don't necessarily have the money, and then, you know, when we're busy at work and we've got the money, don't necessarily have the time. So it's kind of finding that balance, and it can be a bit frustrating at times. But but ultimately, it's a really satisfying thing to be able to work on something for yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, and I think people, in when it comes to art and stuff, like people can see somehow, you know, if you've done it for yourself and it was like a passion project, something about that comes through, you know, doesn't it? I guess it's like if I didn't want to draw a house and someone said, oh, come and do my house, and then it might have felt different, you know, but the fact I was living in it and just always wanted to do that, and you know, got into that world, it felt different to that. Yeah.
And your wife, was she filming every step of it as well?
Yeah, so, well, with the stop motion, we had a camera on a tripod, and sometimes Elena would have to like click to take a picture of me, but she'd also do like films on her phone and camera and stuff of just documenting that process. And then I think it was, yeah, almost a few months towards the end, we got the film crew who kind of directed the documentary. They came in and they filmed the last part. But throughout the process, we also worked with a local film group called Modus, and those guys would come maybe once a month or something to see what room I was on. And usually every couple of months I'd move to another space, so they'd have something different to kind of look at. Like I'd be doing like the cutlery in the kitchen like one time, and then the living room like the TV and stuff like that. So yeah, it was cool.
I mean, there's not a square inch in the main house that doesn't have a doodle on, you know. It really is. Your attention to detail is incredible, Sam, because even on the banisters, every little bit of spindle is covered, you know, and all the mouldings in the cornice and stuff, they've all got a little character on and stuff. But have you got, you know, when you're doing your doodles, are you drawing from a pool of characters, or is it whatever comes into your mind, or where are you drawing inspiration from for your doodles?
I mean, I don't really think about it really. It's the kind of key. The weird thing is, what I do is that the whole kind of process is to try and stop thinking. Like, I think that was what was kind of making it difficult for me when I was younger, is that I would always think like too much. You know, I'd think, what has this drawing got to be? Like, what have I got to say with this? This has got to have some sort of message or concept or something. But the key, as I was like progressing, was to try and turn that off and just kind of think a bit like a a bit like a child, like when even at the age I'm at now, is to try and think like how my son does, and just grab a pen and just let the hand do the work and not let the brain get in the way of anything. That's the kind of mission that I try and the zone I put myself into, is to, I think about other things like what's for dinner, and like memories from when I was a kid and stuff, or video games I used to play, and I'll just listen to music and I'll be somewhere else and the hands just like going with it and stuff.
You're in the flow state.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It just feels like I'm in the right place, when I'm doing that. It feels like that's where I should be. And that's the real, like, when I get into that place and you kind of forget time passing and stuff, I'm sure you feel that too.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a great feeling, I think.
Yeah, it's when you get into that zone and everything just happens. A lot of people talk about that kind of flow state, don't they? Everything just kind of happens naturally, and inspirations come in, you're working really efficiently, everything's just like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But it's really interesting to think about it, in terms of doodling and stuff, because I always think, you must really plan out exactly what you're doing, because everything, look at the clothes you're in, everything fits next to each other, everything has the same sort of character and stuff, but it's really interesting that you're just letting your hand do the work,
Yeah, well, when I first started, it didn't look like this. I think it took a while for, to teach my hand like a kind of route or a memory or something like that. And but over the years, the more I've done it, it just kind of, it feels natural for one line to be a certain distance away from another one, and it's kind of like a maze. You kind of, if you were a character and you were really small going through the lines, you'd be able to work your way through the drawing. And something in there, I don't know how it does it, but just doing it over and over again means that eventually that something subconsciously works out that everything should have a distance and spacing, and the size of everything should be a certain way. And there's something there that maybe it comes from the things I've looked at over the years that is in my brain that kind of understands it that way, I guess.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah.
I guess, do you think all artists are the same? Everyone kind of learns their own strokes, different strokes for different folks. It's the same. Do you think that's the case,
Yeah, maybe. I think that for some, people are artists for different reasons and stuff, I guess. Like some people would think the concept of what they're doing is the key thing, and the aesthetic or the form or the medium they're using is second to that, and it could be anything. Like it could be a sculpture one day, or it might be like a print or something that looks very visually different, but it's always the thinking of the artist that's the most important part, and it doesn't matter if someone else is making it necessarily. But for me, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't really, I just kind of like to put lines and things down, and maybe that's, sometimes people say that's kind of like a lowbrow art, or like the kind of thing that isn't really like a proper art, how an artist should think. They should maybe think in a bit of a higher way or something. But I think it's like really cool that I was talking to Morgan about this the other day, and he said about how, like, we're in the Turner Gallery in Margate, and he said about how, like, a kid could come in and they might see something on a wall and just be like, oh yeah, that's cool, or just smile or something. And then when you're an adult, you kind of, maybe you look at a work and you think, what's that person trying to say there, And it doesn't really matter, like, either way you look at it. But like, if it does something nice to you, or it makes you feel a certain way, then that's just kind of what it is sometimes, and that's all it is sometimes, and that's as valid as anything. So it's kind of getting to that point of accepting that and or appreciating that, which takes time over the years, I think. Because when I was younger, I thought like, it can't just be this. It has to have this layer and this, and it's got to be like really clever, and it's got to say something about the current world or something. But it doesn't really have to do that, It could just be something that looks kind of interesting or something.
Just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my mum bought me a print from an artist called Lester McGugan, whose parents were friends of my parents, and it's called Like Father, Like Son, and it's kind of like a doodle as well. It was a big head and a little head, and they're both kind of shouting at each other. And I've had it, it's in a frame, it's in my house, and at the time I thought, oh yeah, you know, I'm the little one, my dad's the big one, and
Yeah.
I thought it was quite funny. But the longer it's been on my wall, obviously I've got kids now, my son looks at it now, and I've become the big one, and you know, he's the little one now. So
Yeah.
it's quite funny how art can change. You know, the perception of whoever's looking at it can change over time.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
picture has got a different meaning now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, no, I think that's great when something like that connects. You know how that did for you and stuff. It's really cool. I think. Yeah, it's funny how the different people can see different things, can't they? And yeah, life goes on, and suddenly something has a completely different meaning.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens, you know. So you've travelled all around the world, and you've drawn on pretty much every type of medium, you know, buildings, bridges, cars, trains, fire trucks. No, school bus. A school bus was the one that I was looking at the other day. I thought, oh man, that's really cool. Probably a lot of people, I think, are probably quite envious of the life that you've been able to lead by doodling and doing something that you love. But what I wanted to know was, what's your favourite medium? You know, if you could just, I know you probably want to draw on everything, but if you could just draw on one thing, if someone said tomorrow, right, Sam, I've got a project for you, can you spend the next week doing this?
Right, yeah.
What would it be?
Oh, well, like a surface or a...
Yeah, I guess so. Or you know, a building or a car or...
I mean, the easiest thing to draw on and the quickest is like glass for me. So if I'm in a glass box or something, or windows, then it flows like cutting hot butter or, you know, warm butter or something with a knife. But the most exciting thing, you know, like if someone said, oh, here's a big white painted town or something, you know, I'd be like, oh great, you know, that'd be perfect. But it wouldn't necessarily be the easiest thing to draw on or the most satisfying, but it would be the thing I'd probably be like really looking forward to the result of the most, you know. So probably those two for different reasons.
And is there something that, you know, like I know you drew on a Tesla.
Yeah.
You know, would you tap Elon up to sort of see if you could paint on a spaceship or doodle on a spaceship? You know, is that the next step?
Well, yeah, I'd love to draw on something that goes out of space. That'd be amazing, you know, like anything when it kind of goes really big, or takes doodling to a different space, makes people kind of think, oh wow, you know, like I doodle too when I'm on the phone, and that guy just doodled a planet or something, you know. It'd be really cool to make people think like that what they do, it can actually be, you know, something really big as well. That's kind of what excited me about the house and, you know, the town idea as well. I love those kind of projects where it just takes something that seems relatively simple, but just takes it to a really full extent. And it's really fun to me for some reason.
Talking of fun, your album, I've been listening to it quite a lot with my kids, and actually the boys at work, we drove over, we were working nearby to you actually, and I thought, oh, the album's just come out, let's have a listen on Spotify, and it's great, man, it's really good fun.
Oh, cheers.
It's really a lot of fun. But how do you go from spending, you know, your entire life, almost all your time doing doodles, to then recording an album?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, while I've been drawing all these years, that's the kind of music, I guess, that I've listened to. Is a lot of it's hip hop and sometimes electronic, but often just a lot of weird music, you know. Like for a while, I ended up listening to a lot of music where people had taken, it was usually like famous people or politicians, and they took their words and kind of made them sing certain things. And I got into like a zone where day after day I ended up listening to, I don't know, like celebrities singing weird songs and stuff where they hadn't actually sung them, but all these kind of weird bits of music or old video game soundtracks and stuff. And I love like listening to that stuff. And I wanted, when I'm in this Mr. Doodle character, I talk while I draw, you know, and I kind of sometimes things I say end up becoming rhymes, and I would sing a lot to my son, you know, to get him to sleep, and I'd make up little songs and things, and I just really enjoyed that process. So I kind of wanted to tell Mr. Doodle's kind of narrative through music, and you know, it's kind of like hit and miss for a lot of people. Think, you know, why is he doing that? Like, why could he just keep doodling and stuff? But I kind of feel like it's a bit of a shame to kind of if you have an interest in something, to feel boxed in and feel like, oh, you know, I should only do this because this works and people like this. Why risk, you know, doing something someone doesn't like or something? But I think if you've got a real passion for it, or something makes you want to do it, it's a shame to not do that if you think people are going to not like it or something. So I just really wanted to do that, and it was really fun for me to do. Like, I liked making the songs and coming up with stories and rhymes and things, and it's a really enjoyable process, and for me, like, adds another layer to the kind of world of Mr. Doodle and stuff.
Have you got a studio at your house then? Are you just kind of getting in from work at the factory and laying a few tracks down of an evening then? Or?
Well, all the tracks were kind of just recorded in like my son's like playroom area type thing. So I would just sit there at night time because it's kind of the furthest away from where Elena and Alfie would be kind of asleep and stuff. So I'd go down there and I'd try and record things in there. And a few were done when I was like traveling, and I did a few in Japan when I was working out there. So I was in my hotel room and I'd be recording. Hopefully people couldn't hear me, you know, at night time and stuff. But and I just do it on my phone or, you know, my iPad or something like that. And then just put them onto these instrumentals by a guy called David Cutter, who has provided music for some of my videos over the years and stuff. And put it together like that, really. But it hasn't really stopped there. I keep kind of making bits now and then. And in the new studio, there is like a booth type place, which isn't fully finished yet, but that's where I hope to make a bit more. I always like making sounds for the characters as well. It's not always kind of lyrics and things, but kind of noises I imagine these little creatures kind of making and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. Kind of doodling through what you hear as well as what you'd see is, I think, a fun concept.
Yeah, I think it's great, Sam. I think it's really, really good. And actually, having seen loads of your work, it's really interesting to listen to the songs about it, because I think, you know, that's the doodle that I've seen on the side of the studio, or that's the doodle that I've seen, you know, on the side of the house. And I think that's that character that you're talking about and stuff. So the whole world, the whole doodle universe, you know. Yeah. It may be, is the next step then animated films with doodles in?
Yeah, I'd love that. My friend Steve's always telling me, like, you know, I'd love to see you do like a film or a cartoon series and stuff. It's such a lot of work though, because it's like, I don't really want to hand that over to someone else to do necessarily. It's not always the best thing, and to do it myself, animation takes so long. Like, I've done these ones in the past where it's like a 2 or 3 minute video and it takes months to, you know, draw every frame and stuff. So it's something I'm really interested in, but it's quite a undertaking. But I'd love to see it happen, you know, some sort of doodle movie or series or something. But yeah, so many things that I'd love to try out, but it's just a shame there's, you know, never enough time in life to do everything. You know, people come up to me and sort of suggest, oh, you should do this, you'd make this book, or you should like redraw the whole Bible or something, you know. And you think that's like a year-long project or something. Like, I can't do them all. So it's unfortunate, but you know, sometimes I wish there was like 5 of me, or that I'd live till 1,000 or something, because I feel like there's so many things I'd love to get into, but you have to kind of pick the ones you think are going to be best and stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, we often joke here, a couple of the guys here, and we think, if there's 4 of us, we could do anything, you know. 4 each, and then we could take over the world. You just have to find that specialism, I guess, and just fully stick to it. You know? Not spread yourself too thin. Yeah,
that's the thing that I struggle with a lot, I think, sometimes, is that sometimes I'll be doing something, I think, is this the best thing I should be doing now, or should I be doing like this thing, or I'll be doing something and thinking, I really want to be doing like that, and I want to see that happen, but then you've got to think about, that's going to take a year, or this is going to take a few months, and you really got to weigh it up and stuff, and it's unless you get like robots in or something, it's kind of impossible to do it.
Well, that's what we're doing here. We're buying in the machines.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, back to traveling all around the world, it got me thinking, actually. I watched a video of you drawing a bridge. Was it Ashford, or the outside the building site? there's like all the hoarding and boarding and
Oh
stuff. And you
yeah,
draw along
yeah,
there.
Ashford. Yeah,
And there's people getting, I think it was on the BBC, there's people getting interviewed as you were doodling and walking past, and there's old boys like, oh, I don't know what this is all about and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you, the kind of interactions that you have with the general public when you're doodling on the side of a building or some hoarding or a bridge or whatever it is,
Yeah.
do they vary from place to place?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Do
they do. They definitely do. Like so much, I think. Sometimes you get someone who runs up and they're like, "Oh my God, you know, I've seen you on TikTok or something. Can we get a selfie or something?" And that usually that kind of makes me happier than I think it makes them, because I think, wow, this person, you know, recognizes what I've done and stuff, which is, you know, amazing feeling. But then you'll also get, I don't know, like someone in a different place who totally like never seen it before, and you know they really don't like it. You know, like they're just being like, why have you done this here? Like, no one told me you were going to do this here. I'm going to complain like to the council about this. And you think, oh no, like, and maybe it's the minority, or maybe it's the majority, that maybe a lot of people don't say that, and maybe they think that. But you get such a range of views. Some people just really enjoy it, and some people, you know, they would just want to see a blank wall, and that's what they want. So that's, you know, it's fine. That's you know how they want to have their town and stuff. So but then and then different countries as well. I mean, that's those two things I was talking about there is the kind of a range in England really. But when you go to Japan, sometimes I'll be drawing in front of people and it'll be completely silent, and like they'll just, everyone will watch, and it's like very different to like I did some stuff in Mexico, and like the kind of reaction from the crowd is so different. Like they'll all be like shouting and, you know, cheering on and stuff, and neither's like not one's not worse than the other. It's just a very different reaction to people, and in the way that they feel like they want to respond to me drawing. Like sometimes they'll be kind of like cheering me on, like I did this big wall in Texas, and all these people were crowded at the bottom, and they're going, "Doodle that wall," and it was so cool, and I could hear them from, you know, the top of this cherry picker, it's amazing. Like, and some people just aren't interested, you know, just walk past and you know, whatever. But yeah, it's fun. I love those kind of interactions, and I love being able to kind of make the work in front of people, because when I was younger, I kind of thought that all artwork, you only see the kind of finished result. For me, it was art existed in books or galleries, and it was like the final piece is what you saw. But I love being able to like make the work in front of people, and, you know, seeing them being able to see my lines and paint and things form is almost kind of mostly more interesting than the final result most of the time, because they get to see nothing become something, and we all go on that journey, and it's very instant. There's no kind of reworking. It's like a mark is made and that's it, and you just carry on. You're following this line that continues to build, and this kind of doodle virus takes over this surface, and it's I love being able to go on that journey with people.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think social media really helps that, and I think the amount of people that know about you and that have seen you, I think social media's been really great in that respect.
Yeah.
Because you're a worldwide phenomenon on you know, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You've got hundreds of thousands of people that have seen what you're doing and think it's fantastic. And I think that worldwide reach, you know, let's say 20 years ago, if you were kind of doing what you were doing 20 years ago, and you just turned up, you know, in New York and started going up on the cherry picker and spraying on the side of a building, I think probably no one would know what was going on.
Yeah.
But I think now when you turn up somewhere and start doodling, there's guaranteed, you know, unless you're in a Amazonian tribe or something,
Yeah.
I think nearly everyone, at least one person will go, "Oh my God, that's Mr. Doodle," you know.
Yeah, it's good. I've never really fully thought about that, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, yeah, to be able to have an audience at your fingertips to be able to communicate with instantly is a really new thing, isn't it? Like, and it's amazing that right now we had that ability, and it's great for me. As you say, like I don't know like what it would have looked like for me 30 years ago, really, or more, or even 15 years ago. I don't know what it would have been like necessarily, but to be able to make stuff and just share it from my house or studio, and it kind of travels without me having to travel is great, because I can be at home with my wife and son, and I can go and do a giant piece and then share it to a load of people and just go to bed or something. I don't have to be like in front of a load of people on the other side of the world or something. So yeah, it's amazing. I really love that. And I love being able to I really love it when I'm able to make something that feels really like happy and fun, and they'll comment and say, oh, you really made my day, that video and stuff. That makes me feel so good to be able to try and do that for someone. And I tell them all, to have a doodly day at the end and stuff, and just feels really like happy. There's nothing else more than that. It's just, for me, that like makes me really happy. So I feel like it should hopefully make other people happy too.
I guess there's always going to be some people that it does make happy though. And
yeah,
I certainly know it from doing some bits on TV and stuff. There's always going to be someone that will have something negative to say about it. I mean, how do you deal with that when you see those sort of comments coming up on social media and stuff?
Well, when I first saw it, I guess when that Old Street thing happened, there was a lot of negative stuff suddenly came out, and it was like it never really happened before, because the audience hadn't been big enough for, like, when there was only like family and friends kind of seeing what I was doing, no one was ever going to be too critical. But when you start to go out of that and there's someone in another country thousands of miles away or whatever, they're not going to really care if they say something. They don't have to deal with that or anything. So at first it really made my heart sink. I was like, oh no, people don't like it, I'm gonna get in trouble or something, or it's gonna be really bad. It felt like something like I was gonna not be accepted, or people were gonna all suddenly feel the same way as people who were saying this bad stuff. But over the years I kind of got really used to it, and sometimes weirdly I even kind of like it. I don't want to necessarily like it, but something about it is that if I create something that means loads of people are commenting or having a conversation or something, and there's positive and negative there, it never feels like a bad thing anymore. It feels like just let them say what they want to say, and they feel a certain way about it, and that doesn't mean that what you've made is like a failure. It's better that it has people talking about it, I guess, or feeling something from it, than to not feel anything about it, I guess. And I kind of embrace that now, and people, they might have only seen one quick thing and they'll say something about it that might be negative, but it's fine. It's really fine. I would want them to stop. I didn't really necessarily want to change their minds. And some people say oh, that's not art. And then I think but what does it matter really? It's not like you go into a restaurant and go, well, that's not art, but people still enjoy the food. It's just, it is what it is, isn't it? It's like if someone likes something or people get something from it, what does it matter whether it's something or not? It's just, there's more to things than the boxes they fit in. It's sometimes, I wouldn't mind if there was a worldwide judging committee and they said, we've officially declared that Mr. Doodle is not an artist, he doesn't do art. I'd be fine with that, I wouldn't pack up my pens and think, I'll go and do something else now. I'd just keep going, and it's not like people would stop enjoying it. So yeah, that's how I see it really.
That's a really nice way of looking at it, actually. When I first started in television, the first show that I did, I went on to Facebook to see, as you do, I wonder what everyone's saying about it. And,
yeah.
The production company had set up a whole page for the show and stuff, and I went on there naively thinking that loads of people would go, oh, this is great. I watched the show, I thought, oh, this is brilliant. I really like it. It's primetime Channel 4. I went on, there's maybe 20 comments on the post for that episode. Not a single one had anything good to say.
Really?
I was devastated.
Oh, wow.
After the first show came out, I think I spent 2 or 3 days just in bed thinking, oh,
wow.
I was depressed, this is really, really bad. I shouldn't do this. I want to cancel. I'd never want to be on telly again. And
wow.
my God. And then something clicked. The second episode came out, same thing again. Something clicked in me and I thought, you know what? I'm going to maybe just look at who's making these comments.
Yeah.
Because I think it's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And the more I had to convince myself, what I'm doing is all right. You know,
Yeah.
obviously Channel 4 like it. You know, 4 million people watching it. There's 20 people saying negative things. I wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'd click on the profiles, and you know, 9 times out of 10, it'd be like a lady in a picture, not a lot going on,
Right.
loads of cats in the picture or something like
Okay.
that. You know, think, you know what? If the elderly cat lady is complaining about, you know, I've used the wrong wax on a candle or something like, actually, I'm all right.
Yeah.
and more recently, when I've done this, the travelling auctioneers on BBC One and stuff.
Yeah.
Fun as it is, there's always one guy. It's always the same guy, or maybe 2 guys. Go, oh, this guy, he's a clown, you know.
Really?
Why is he doing that? He's done that wrong. And you think, well, yeah, I kind of agree. I didn't do it the way that I'd do it in my workshop if I had 3 weeks to work on this item, you know.
Yeah.
I've done it in the back of a little Citroen H van in half an hour because, you know, we've got 3 hours to film and then it's off to an auction. You know, why would I spend a week's labour on fixing something that's it's only going to sell for a £5, whether it's really good or really bad? And I kind of take it with a pinch of salt. But
Yeah.
when I saw the first kind of negative comments, I was like, oh no, here we go again. But I've built this kind of mental resilience to it now.
Yeah.
And actually, I think as people that make things, you know, you make your doodles, I make, you know, wooden stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same with everyone that makes something. People are always going to have an opinion, and it's not always going to be the best.
Yeah.
And I think as people that make things, you have to accept that.
Yeah.
And actually, like you're saying, embrace it, because
Yeah.
the fact that someone's got a negative opinion about it, it probably says more about them than it does about you in the first place. But the fact that they've got that opinion, it kind of means at least they've got an opinion. You're affecting something in their life, and it might be that they've got connotations with something else that maybe your thing reminds them of something else that might be negative, rather than the fact that I just don't like it, you know.
Yeah.
So I've kind of dealt with it like that, and look at it the same way as you now. It's not like a failure. I haven't failed, you know. I haven't made this thing and someone's judged it and I've failed. I just think I've made this thing. One person doesn't like it.
Yeah.
2 people don't like it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, I think, as well. It seems like, seems sometimes that there's something unfortunately, in human nature to talk more about like negative things sometimes. Like, I mean, like how common is it to sort of bond with someone when you're kind of complaining about something? Like if you go, it's rubbish weather, isn't it? You know, how often do you feel like the sort of feeling of saying like, oh, it's really nice weather. It doesn't feel as natural somehow, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like when I go onto things like Kent Online and stuff, and you see comments, and it's like people only want to talk about like the criticisms. Maybe it's just not in someone's feeling to be like, write something really positive most of the time. Maybe there's just not as much need for it, I guess. Maybe they don't feel like they're not really saying something that changes something. They're kind of complimenting something. So maybe maybe the people who write the negative stuff feel there's more of a need to say something, I guess, you know, because they kind of want something to change rather than something to keep going.
Well, we work on a 10-to-1 ratio at home, because negative things take up more space than positive things. That's thoughts or feelings or emotions or whatever. And I am a bad one for criticising my kids. And
Okay.
I really wish I didn't, because,
Yeah.
you know, they're really great kids.
Yeah.
And I forget that I'm doing it because, you know, I have this kind of expectation of, you know, they need to be perfect. And, oh, maybe they're not quite always being perfect. Oh,
Right.
well, maybe I should tell them. So we've been working at home on, Zoe, my partner, she said, you know, for every one bad thing you say to a child,
Yeah.
you need to say 10 good things to counteract it, because
Okay.
they'll hold on to that one
Yeah.
bad thing until you've reached that almost 10 times as
Right.
much good. So I think that probably crosses over into adult life. You know, if they've seen one thing that annoys them, they're 10 times more likely to say, well, I'm going to complain about that, or I'm going to go and, you know, put on social media a bad comment or whatever. That you know, if you'd have to do 10 amazing things for them to go, isn't this guy amazing? I'm going to, you know, maybe it's that same ratio that goes on to adult life. But also, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's Kent Online. And it, you know, we're in England, and as a nation, I think English people, you know, and I can say it because I'm English as well, but I think English people, we do like to complain a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think maybe a bit more than a lot of other nations do.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. I mean, there's probably so much that goes into why that is, but yeah, I think it's nice if people kind of like connect through something, I guess, better than not saying anything. But it does feel like natural for people here maybe to connect on potholes, you know. I don't know, stuff
Classic.
like that. It just feels really unnatural to maybe like, I don't know, get like if you're going to talk to a stranger and be like, isn't that really great what happened? Like, I don't know, about that person who got saved or something, you know, like I don't know, like some good news. I guess it's just not as instinctive to talk about that to someone. But I don't know, like I don't know what I'm saying now really, but I think that like with sort of happy things, maybe it just feels less instinctive to talk about that. But even like grey weather and things like that, sometimes I quite like it like that, you know, like people often, you know, come to England, or that people here that talk about the weather and how it's not, they don't like it and stuff. But I think we've got a really good range of, you know, weather really. Like we don't have sort of very extreme weathers most of the time, and like if it's a bit grey, like sometimes it's kind of nice, like I think, to be inside and it's maybe raining or something. It's just good to have that range, isn't it really?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you just lived somewhere that was hot and sunny all the time, maybe that'd get boring as well.
Yeah. It's
but it also
hard to work in the heat as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there is that as well. It's easy to sunbathe though.
Yeah.
So, what's next for Mr. Doodle? What's next for you, Sam? Have you got anything big coming up, or have you got anything that, you know, you're aiming for this? I want to draw on that spaceship, or I want to do the whole town, or whatever.
I think just there's a few things I've got in mind. It's really just about taking things to like kind of the extreme levels and stuff. Like I want to see like how many drawings I can do, and I've been sort of doing that all my life, but I want to see, you know, like how many pieces can I create like quickly and build up sort of images. And I want to kind of treat the new studio that, you know, you've helped work on and stuff as like a factory in a sense. You know, I want it to kind of really test how much I love doodling. I want to see how far I can go with it, and whatever that means, you know, there's a few different routes I'm thinking about how that goes and stuff. But I really wanted to understand myself more of like why I do this, or maybe I'll never know, but I kind of want to keep going and work out really how much I love it, because it feels like at the moment there's just I never feel like a desire to stop, and I kind of want to keep going to see if I ever feel that really. And it's quite a vague answer, but and also, you know, music and stuff as well, and all sorts of projects, you know, like murals. I want to keep doing loads of murals. I love doing big paintings. You know, the bigger the better, and exploring more different mediums and stuff, and just more of, you know, what I'm doing really. I really love it, and making more things to reach more people online and stuff. And I love doing the sort of, you know, hello there, I'm Mr. Doodle, and draw and stuff, and those kind of videos.
Oh, you've got to do the voice. Come on, you've got to do the voice, Sam.
You know, the sort of hello there, I'm Mr. Doodle, and you know, all those ones, and I've drawn an octopus and stuff. So yeah, and things like that. I'd love doing that stuff, and I love recently I love collaborating with my son. You know, like he draws on my drawings, and he draws everywhere. And it's really funny because he draws like over our house where I've drawn already, and I can't really stop him because like I kind of think like if I stop him and I say can't do that, like how can I do that, you know, when I'm the one who wants to do that everywhere. So it's difficult because I let him, you know, we let him do that, but when we go out, if we go out to eat or something, they bring over some crayons and paper and stuff, but he doesn't really want to like stick to the paper. He'll go like on the table, and he'll want to go over somewhere else because we've kind of let him do it at home. So it's quite difficult to navigate that really, being with what I do. But yeah, I love working with him and my wife, and we draw things together, and it doesn't really, like, it's not for anything, but it's great for me to be able to do that because I feel like I can spend time with them while doing what I love, and I kind of doing everything that I need to do, you know, in that instance. That's like some of my happiest times, is when I'm kind of with them and we're just scribbling on stuff, and it's, you know, just it's whatever, and I'm just drawing stuff, and he's having a great time, and Elena's really enjoying herself, and yeah, it's cool. That's what I want to do more of really, all the things that I do really, yeah.
And the new studio space, the factory. Yeah. I saw the sign as I came up the other day, the factory. I thought, oh yeah, that's cool actually. Yeah. But the Doodle Factory, how, I mean, it's completely different, isn't it, than your house? Inside, no doodles, apart from on the paper and stuff. For now, anyway. I don't know if you have plans to kind of to cover it. But it's, you know, you come past the house, it's completely covered in doodles, and then I mean the factory externally is covered in doodles, but it's stainless steel cladding, isn't it? That you've been laser cut to the shape of your doodles. But when you walk through the door, it's a really nice, tranquil, kind of serene, completely white space, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, like with the house, it was always, there was a reason, you know, to do the house. It was like this thought that I had for a long time. But with the studio, it's like, I don't see it like that. You know, things have to kind of come in and out of the studio. We have to see what something looks like with just, you know, for a piece by itself, not surrounded by doodles. It needs to be something that's constantly like changing what's in there. So it makes so much sense to have it as a neutral space. It's nice. It kind of makes a difference. What's funny about it is that like I love to doodle, and like I obviously did the house, but I spend probably more time in the studio for waking hours than my wife and son have to spend all the time in a doodled house, even though like I decided to make it like that. And you know, it's kind of funny to think about it that way. But yeah, I love working in the studio. It's such a nice space to be, especially, you know, once the guys have gone to sleep at night, I go over there and I had the space to myself. I turn the music on, and it can be really loud, and no one can, you know, hear it and stuff except for me in there. And I'm spray painting and, you know, drawing stuff, and just kind of in my own world, and making different pieces just for fun and stuff like that. And it's great to have the height of the space as well. It's something I've never had before. You know, even spaces I've worked in, like in galleries or places where I've done internal work and stuff, I've never had that height and room to really just take over with my drawings. It's kind of like a 5 meter tall room, and it's great to be able to put, you know, paper on the walls and just do giant things and stuff.
But it's so big that you've got your own scissor lift there now, haven't you?
Yeah, it kind of scares me a bit, the scissor lift. I only really try and operate it when no one else is there, because it's quite a, you know, it's a big a machine, and I'm not really usually when I'm doing murals, you know, out in the public, there's someone who operates it, and I paint it. I paint the walls. I don't like to drive it, but when I'm in this, you know, the studio, I have to do that, because otherwise I can't reach, you know, certain places and stuff. But yeah, it's a fun thing to drive around and stuff. Yeah.
Have you doodled all over that yet?
No, not yet. But we are going to get it like covered in like a white vinyl to make
like a
it
wrap.
kind of blank. Yeah. But it might also stay that way. I might not draw on that, because I think it kind of fits in with everything else, and I kind of almost want a bit like people always ask me, like, why haven't I got kind of tattoos of doodles all over me? And it's kind of because I want the work to kind of change and it evolves. So something that the way I draw now might just be slightly different in 5 years' time. Like if I look back at 10 years ago, it's slightly different. It's still the kind of same concept, but it just naturally evolves. And I think with things like the scissor lift in the studio, I kind of want it to be quite blank, so that everything, just the work comes in and out, but everything else kind of remains neutral, really.
Mm. And so in that respect, do you think that you'd be redoing the house in a few years' time? Things have moved on a bit.
Yeah, I kind of break my own rule there, really, because I think that probably, for me, that kind of stays as the artwork that it is. It's just new things will come in and out of that, like furniture and stuff, but the basic part of the walls and the ceiling and everything and floors will probably mostly just stay the same. Otherwise, it's that thing again with like time and what you choose to do. It's kind of I can't really justify going over the house, because it feels like, you know, I've done that. I need to focus on the other things and stuff. Yeah.
Ah, great. And then just a final thought, really. This podcast is you know, focused on people that make things, and it's designed, I guess, for people that make things and want to get into making stuff. And have you got any advice or any kind of wise words for people that, you know, they're starting a journey on whatever they're making? It might be doodles or art, it might be they're crafting something completely different. But have you got any kind of words of advice that you can offer, or that maybe someone told you, or maybe you wish someone told you when you first started out?
I guess I guess like it's really difficult because everyone's, you know, people are so different in what they do and what they want to do, how they see things. For me, the biggest change was like a perspective of what, you know, what's out there, what I can do. Is what I'm doing allowed to be out there? You know, like having sort of self-belief in that something you do, like, does it have to fit in something? Like, you know, or can you make something new, make your own space? I think understanding that is a really hard thing, and that maybe it's a continual process of learning that. I think in terms of like sort of basic advice, I think just doing like what you want to do as much as you can is got to be good. I think for me, like quantity was always as important as quality, and the two don't really exist exclusively to each other. I think one feeds the other, and sometimes the quantity of something is part of the quality of it. Like if you have like a million doodles, that's kind of that's the quantity there is the quality of it, rather than like if you took one of those doodles, it's not necessarily like the most amazing thing, but the fact there's a million of them is the thing. So I think that's the thing to focus on, is that if you want to get into something, is trying to put as much time as you can into it and just developing it. And it's hard work, but if you find what you love, then, you know, you just got to enjoy that process and document that process if you can. I think that's interesting to people, and it's good for yourself to be able to look back and see how things have progressed and stuff. So that's kind of where I'd start, really, I think.
Fantastic. Well, Sam, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks, Robin. Yeah, it's been great.
Have a doodly day.
Have a doodly day.